Well, we're back for TED Talk 3, that'd be Father TED Talk 3. And this week we have questions from some of the children in our parish. So we'll get right at it. First question is, what did you want to be besides a priest? Well, I never wanted to be a fireman or a policeman. I wanted to be a forester for a while. And then I started out college studying that, and then I switched over to Ohio State University and studied landscape design. In fact, I was a landscape designer for a while. If I wasn't going to be a priest now, I'd probably be a hunting and fishing guide. Next question, what is your favorite church song? And without a doubt, it would be "O God Beyond All Praising." And what's my favorite song? Not church song, it says. And I think probably "Someone Like You" by Van Morrison. He was one of my favorite artists when I was in high school and college. But that song, of course, he wrote it about another person. But if you listen to the lyrics, you could also apply that to Jesus. I also like some of the "They Might Be Giants" songs for kids. They're kind of humorous. What's my favorite Bible study? Without a doubt, it's the Exodus story in the book of Exodus. You know, the story about the Israelites being freed from slavery to the Egyptians. And there's a common theme that goes throughout that story. Whenever the Israelites get into a tough spot, they start whining and complaining, and they want to go back to being slaves. They want to go back to what they knew and what was familiar. And, you know, that's pretty much a statement on human nature. Even if, it was bad in the past, sometimes we like to just go back there because we know it, it's familiar. If the future looks too unknown or unfamiliar or frightful even. Next question, how many baptisms have I done? And I never kept track of them. Some priests do. They write down every one and keep a tally. But I'm going to have to say it's got to be at least 500, and it might be even more than that, maybe even closer to 1,000. But the only way I would know for sure is to go back to all the parishes where I was and have them go through the records and take a tally. How do you make holy water? Well, there's the joke, you boil the heck out of it. You can substitute another four-letter word for that. Heck. But, well, it's pretty easy, actually. We take clean, clear water, and we say the priest or the deacon can bless as well, says a special prayer over it that then blesses that water and makes it holy and usable for baptism. Now, in a pinch, if somebody has to baptize in an emergency and they don't have holy water, you can just use plain clear water out of the tap and do that, bless it quickly, making the sign of the cross over it. What was your favorite game to play as a child? Well, as a small child, it was probably hide and seek. And then as I got a little bit older, I'd like to play wiffle ball in the summertime with the neighborhood kids out in the street. And then, by the time I got maybe upper grade school, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, I like to play basketball a lot. What's my favorite book? Well, actually, I have several, a couple anyway. G.K. Chesterton's The Everlasting Man. G.K. Chesterton's probably one of my favorites, but I also like Georges Bernano's Diary of a Country Priest. I think it's a really down-to-earth, it's fictional about a priest living in a country as a pastor and the struggles and things that he has to deal with. It was written quite some time ago, but it's still pretty relevant today. It's still, you can still relate to it today. And then there's a child's book by Max Lucado. That I think is a really great book. I have it on my bookshelf and display. You Are Special. And it's a good story even for adults, not just for children. as a child, what is an example of a time that you got into trouble, that I got into trouble with my parents? What happened, and how did your parents and my faith help to correct it, to get through it? What did I learn? Well, the first thing that came to mind was as kids, I don't know, I was probably maybe 7th or 8th grade. My brothers and I decided we were on this getting people with water balloons kick. So there was like one neighbor down the street. She was about our age, a little bit older and kind of bossy, maybe a year or two older and kind of bossy. And so we wanted to get her as she was coming out for the school bus. And so at night we rigged a water balloon above the door that she would come out, so that when the door opened it would come down and splash her and get her wet. Well, we didn't fill it full enough so that it exploded, so it just bounced off of her. But it was probably a few days after that we were throwing water balloons at cars going down the highway, and one of them actually hit a car on the windshield, and we ran away after that. And when we got home, we thought the coast was clear, but this guy pulls into the driveway. He caught us red-handed. He saw us running and was able to follow us home. So we got in trouble with my parents. And, the guy, we had to apologize to the man. And, he was pretty nice about it for being angry that happened. But his big concern was that it might cause an accident. And he was right. And, my mom agreed with him. And so, that's time we learned that, what we think is fun can actually be dangerous or can hurt somebody, can be unsafe. So, of course, we apologized and we learned the lesson, that, as I said, funny things can actually hurt people. So you got to be careful. Then, last question. I think I got them all. Do people eat in heaven? What if eating a particular food makes you really happy? I guess implying that if that food's not in heaven, then will you not be happy in heaven because the food that makes you happy isn't there? Well, let me first say that lots of places in the Bible refer to heaven, the heavenly banquet or a heavenly feast, or that there'll be great foods, choice wines, and so forth in heaven. And so on one level, it seems like it would be possible to have real food in heaven. Recall the resurrection story of Jesus. Those stories, numerous times he eats fish on the shore with them, has food with his apostles. And this is after he's risen from the dead. So the glorified body is able to consume food, similar maybe to how we eat here on earth. Does that mean that there'll be food in heaven, though? We don't really know. So I think we really need to look at another level of what this image of the heavenly banquet or feast means. That I think certainly this image shows that we will be in communion with one another and with God. And that's a communion that's based in love. It's a communion of love, a feast of love that satisfies us more deeply than any food that we really enjoy or that really makes us happy. The communion of love, the feast of love, will satisfy us even more than any good food. Well, that's it for this week. We'll see ya. Thanks for watching, kids and adults.